You guys got a minute? Because let me show you why the math is mathing. Because why is what Catherine Fitts is saying about the underground bunkers and transportation system adding up with what Phil Schneider said in the 90s before he mysteriously unalived himself with his own catheter cord wrapped around his neck 3 times and then tied in the front, after he went on the ultimate tea-spilling tour spree? Also, I found a worldwide international tunnel association dedicated to underground solutions for a better world. Many people, one planet, one ITA. Getting ahead of myself. Catherine Fitts worked for the George H.W. Bush administration. Now, she claims that the government has spent $21 trillion building underground doomsday bunkers. These are not them, by the way. But her claims did come out coincidentally just months after this company announced plans to build $300 million bunkers. Now, the first location is going to open in Virginia near Washington, D.C., and the new ARI project will offer a network of luxurious doomsday residential bunkers in 50 U.S. states. But this is only for the super rich, you guys. This little tidbit is just my opinion. Let's fast forward for a minute where everything can be done in secret in these bunkers, but only by the mega rich. Let's say there's a whole bunch of smart cities where nothing can no longer be done in private because everything is surveillanced. But if the super rich have all these underground bunkers where everything they can do could be 100% private, they would be the only ones with future private lives. Just throwing that in there. And these are for members only. You know what's creepy? Look at the name. ARI, named after a resting place for birds of prey. Isn't that sweet? Back to Phil Schneider now. He was an engineer and geologist. Now, he said he worked for major defense contractors such as Morrison Knudsen. He was literally helping them build deep underground military bases. They're called DUM, and DUM 2s are what are submarine bases, which are the ones that are in the water, which Catherine Fitts also talked about. And he mentions that they were typically put on continental shelves. Well, who remembers the blurred image from Google Earth? Not blurred. When people discovered it, they blurred it. Why would they do that? To be an entrance to a base? Maybe, who knows? It's all speculation, right? Now, this is a document that was put out for a very high-speed transit system under the ground by the RAND Corporation. Keep the RAND Corporation in mind. Salter was a lead scientist for the RAND Corporation. The entire document broke down a high-speed train that would go underground and run on a magnetic system, and that you would go from one side of the United States to the other in less than an hour. You can pause and read the time breakdown if you would like. Now, this was all for environmental reasons, and it would cost less than $1 per passenger is the expected energy cost. But what does it matter? Because they said this train was never built. Now, in 1982, the Air Force was refurbishing a TBM, which is a tunnel boring machine, and this is a picture so you can see what they look like. So I went through documents about the Nuclear Waste Department talking about moving a TBM out of Tunnel N and the cost it would take to move it out and refurbish it and reuse it for further tunnel use. But I found this very interesting that they talked about it could be a problem to move it out because while they were down there, they noticed that there was very busy traffic on the main rail line continuously. Is the main rail line this underground train that doesn't exist? Maybe. Now, he claims in 1979 in Dulce, New Mexico, they literally got into a gunfight with aliens. Notice the missing fingers? He claims that he was able to shoot 2 with the pistol he had, and that an alien did a motion around its chest and a blue laser beam blasted him. He has a huge scar down the center. He lost fingers. It burnt his toenails off and it burnt his shoes off. He did develop cancer, which he claims was from that blast, and that the Green Berets literally got into a shooting fight with the aliens, and that one of the Green Berets saved his life by pushing him onto a lift and sending it up. Now, remember I told you to remember RAND. It's an American nonprofit global policy think tank. Remember a lead scientist for them put out the document breaking down how the train would work, how to build it, the whole 9 yards. But I thought it was interesting that it was the Green Berets, because when RAND began in 1946, it was backed by a single client, the U.S. Army Air Forces. Now, Phil Schneider's best friend, Ron Rummel, was an ex-Air Force intelligence agent who literally started a newsletter called the Alien Digest. You guessed it, he unalived himself in 1993. So Otto, Phil Schneider's father, was in the United States Navy, and he was involved with things like the Philadelphia experiment, and he also died in 1993. And when Phil's best friend, Ron, unalived himself, in the documents he had from his father, he decided he needed to tell everyone the things he had seen. Now, he claims that the reason for these underground bases are for part of the New World Order, and that there are prisons in these underground bases, which he talks about would be if the country implemented martial law. One of the last talks he gave was in November of 1995, and he unalived himself 2 months later. Which, of course, Catherine Fitts says that they are for near extinction events and to do things in secret, which I think is pretty obvious. Now, the 2 years of research that her and the other people did, they estimate that there is 170 with the transportation network. So if in 1995 Phil Schneider claimed there was 129 bases and that they built 2 a year, she claims that $21 trillion went missing between 1998 and 2015. Now that is a 20-year difference. If they were building 2 bases a year for 20 years, that would be 40 more bases, 169. She estimates there are 170 bases today. If you made it this far, I am proud of you. The ITA, International Tunneling and Underground Space Association. Now, I went through a lot of their website and a lot of different links. To be completely honest, I couldn't find anything nefarious. However, they could hold meetings and do all of this smack in our faces, and none of us would know the difference. So, just my opinion, but hiding things in plain sight is the typical way to go. 80 member nations. Look at this symbol, you guys. It's a literal tunnel under the ground, right? Cute. And you notice that a lot of the countries utilize that symbol. Yes, these are part of the 80 nations. In fact, almost every country utilizes the same symbol. But here we have the United States, who uses a pyramid or a triangle with a circle through it, tunnel through a mountain. UC literally stands for underground construction. What is with the United States and pyramids? You can come up with your own symbolic conclusions on that, because it's probably nothing. It's just a mountain with a tunnel in it. Now, these are all the ITA Prime sponsors. Robbins is listed on a lot of documentation, but these are all just companies that do underground tunneling, or in some way, shape, or form associated. Listen, I just dig up the coincidences, and you can come up with your own conclusions. I'm just letting you know that these things exist.